Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are, everybody's here attending. I welcome you very much to this roundtable discussion now about university business cooperation. We have very competent and prominent discussion partners in the panel. My name is Gunnar Brause. I'm coming from Germany, and I have the pleasure to guide you to the discussion today. Before we want to start with the content things, I give the floor to Eva Pranka from the Baltic German Hochschulkontor here in Riga. They supported the conference, and Eva want to tell something interesting to us. Please, Eva.
Yeah, good afternoon, dear ladies and gentlemen. I have the pleasure to speak to you at the opening of a roundtable debate entitled University Business Partnership through the Triple Helix Approach at the University of Latvia in this small hall, which is very nice. And the Konference, European Integration and the Baltic Sea Region, Diversity and Perspectives, brings together participants from different countries and fields and promotes cooperation not only between Germany and the Baltic states, but on a wide scale. And the conference and debate is dedicated to a very current topic, the cooperation between higher education and research institutions, public sector and businesses, which has an important role not only in the development of businesses or higher education sector, but the Baltic region as a whole. And I would like to say some words on behalf of the Baltic German University Liaison Office, which supported the organization of this roundtable discussion and the conference. First of all, I would like to thank to Mr. Brause for his initiative to organize such a forum in Riga. Last year, the University Business Forum took place in Tallinn, and there was a lot of interesting and intense discussion about business environment in the universities. And after that, Mr. Brause had the idea to organize a similar event also in Riga. So now you have a possibility to join this event. And secondly, I want to encourage academic staff of other Baltic universities, not only of the University of Latvia, to develop cooperation projects with universities of Germany with the support of Baltic German University Liaison Office, which aim is to promote scientific and academic cooperation between Germany on the one side and the Baltic states, Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania on the another side, as well as the scientific cooperation between the Baltic states. I wish you a productive and intense debate, and thank you for your attention.
Yes, thank you very much, Eva, for the introduction. We have now 1.5 hours, and a lot of knowledge is gathered here around the table from the Baltic Sea region and as well from Czech Republic. And I don't want to waste too much time with introduction. I propose that we make a first round, that everybody presents himself and gives some experiences and some short statements about his experiences in the field of university business cooperation. The first one is Ari Koski, very famous person from Turku. He's also working on European level in University Business Forum group to improve the activities. And maybe Ari, you tell us some words, what's going on in your region, what's ongoing topics, and maybe some ideas for the future.
Now or later? Maybe later. So hello everybody, nice to be here. So my name is Ari Koski, coming from the University of Turku. I work there as a team leader and project coordinator, and my team works to develop universities to be more regionally engaged, to be more competent in the business business cooperation and so on, and also our projects relate to those topics. So I have worked in the regional, national and international levels. But maybe that's for the presentation and then, or the introduction to myself. And then.
But you have prepared some slides. Maybe.
Will I show them now?
Oh, okay.
Maybe later.
Hello, I'm Merli Reidol from Tallinn University of Technology from Estonia. I'm a researcher there. In our department, we are also dealing with EU projects concerning SMEs and benefits for SMEs. And as a research topic of my PhD thesis, I'm working for universities' role in the regional development, universities and SMEs cooperation in the region. And yeah, I have specially studied one county, Saaremaa in Estonia.
Hello, I'm Elina Egle. I'm advisor to the State President of Latvia on economics, entrepreneurship and employment issues. And I'm also advisor for Latvia's Science Council. And in my previous capacity, I have been working for Latvian business community as Director General of Employers Confederation of Latvia. And my very beginning of my career has been in a company which had a lot of in-house research and also cooperation with high schools. And it's a food company, that's Alderis Brewery. So I have, starting from a company level and ending up with a policy making, as well as I'm also the doctorate for Latvijas University.
I'm Māris Purgalis. I'm a Dean of Faculty of Economics and Management in our university, and we try to cooperate with many companies in academic work, in some research, try to compete with faculties of natural science, where it's more easy, and hope that in future it will be more successful.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to the conference. My name is Pavel Strach. I come from Škoda Auto University, which is perhaps the only corporate university in these geographic locations. I'm in Central and Eastern Europe. And I'm sitting therefore on both sides of the triple helix. The two sides are the business and the school. And I'd love to hear the experiences of other discussants.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Gunnar Ljungdahl, and I'm said here in the program to be chairman of the Swedish Chamber of Commerce in Latvia, which is perfectly correct. But I'm also senior vice president of Stockholm School of Economics in Riga, which is perhaps more relevant in this at this table. There I am in charge of development, which I understand is an American euphemism for begging. So it's fundraising, and I have the pleasure of having a board member of the school almost next to me.
Thank you. My name is Runo Lumiste. I'm coming also from North Tallinn University of Technology, and let's say doing different things, but definitely in all those things is a vector of business and vector of technology are involved. Thank you.
Yes, the idea is now that we look to two cases, one from Finland. Are you prepared a small presentation? What's going on and what could be interesting in this area? After this, Pavel will say some words about the situation from his university, and then we start the discussion. Yeah, please.
Yeah, but okay, so I only show you one slide. I will sit down. Of course, although it's only one slide, I could speak 1 hour about it, but because there are many others, I don't want to. That's why I put them to the slide, so it's easier to follow. It's not so much about case from Southwest Finland, but there are some critical points that I've learned, I think. 5 W's, if you want to say so, but how to promote university business cooperation. They are really simple points, I would say. Of course, challenging to implement. But the first one is simply whom to contact in the university. So especially for the SMEs, it's really difficult to know who is the right person for my case. So universities are a huge jungle of departments, faculties and so on. And different disciplines and expertises overlaps, and it's impossible for the outsiders to know in which department is the right expert. The other point is who are the best guy or girl for my case. I would say that is the most critical question. Everybody knows that if you fail in the first time, then the next one doesn't appear. So for these 2 points we have developed a university partner service. So it's a joint service channel of the higher education institutions in Turku. So we provide information on the research, on the experts, on the students when the SMEs ask. So it's our duty to look for the right guys and girls for each case and match them and help them to go forward. So then third point there is what do you sell? Quite often universities sell courses, different projects. Are the companies willing to join this and this project? Is it regional development or research? And we sell trainees or students, or we sell different methods. However, companies are not looking for project or course. They are looking for solutions to their challenges, or they are looking for fresh ideas for the development processes. So in that sense we have to change our wording or change the way we communicate. For example, there was one case when we have a group of companies in the Department of Chemistry, and the professor told half an hour about how they analyze atoms and molecules in different materials. To be honest, nobody understood what was the point. And I asked what is the benefit for the companies. So he explained that, of course, for example, when the temperature changes, the molecules inside the metal, for example, they change, and that can cause some accidents. And that's how the department can help metal company to solve the problems in their materials. But he couldn't tell it in the first place. So the next point is where do you sell where do you sell or where do you communicate? So the right communication channels. Quite often we speak about our expertise in these kind of seminars, and these are not right places for the SMEs, at least for the micro companies. They have to work during daytime, and universities are maybe also quite scary places for them. So that's why we have to go to the places where the SMEs are and tell our story there. And in these issues we cooperate in Southwest Finland with the public business service sector, so public business advisors who are every day cooperating with the SMEs. And we try to tell to the business advisors what our universities can do for the SMEs. And almost the last one, maybe the most critical question, is who pays? That's of course the question for the SMEs. And there, if we think this triple helix approach, which I think it's only one concept among others, but of course there is also public authorities who, at least in Finland, have quite good resources for the investments funding in companies, so they so the companies can apply. The problem is that SMEs don't know about these opportunities, so we try to help them there. But so really briefly, those are maybe the most critical points concerning university business cooperation. And then if we speak about challenges inside the universities, I would say that the biggest one at least in Finland, is incentives. So why university professor should do something for the business or for the society outside his research field or teaching, if he or she doesn't get paid about that, or if there is no resources, time or money to do that. So in Finland we have new university law, so the priorities for the universities are to the research, of course, the teaching, and then interaction with the society. Money is allocated for the first two ones, but there's no money for the third task, and that's the problem, and we should work for that. But just briefly, this was my first points. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Ari, for the introduction. You touched a lot of interesting questions that we will discuss later on, but I think we have a second presentation from Czech Republic that Pavel wants to do now, and then we start discussing.
Thank you. Just a couple points of departure. I'm not going to stuff you with half an hour presentation. Give me 7-8 minutes for the starting points. So how to develop science to business interactions, and what are the impediments or challenges this kind of interaction may face? Well, first of all, obviously, scientific institutions and university institutions are here to do research, and companies are here primarily to do development. That's one of the key dichotomies, because for companies there needs to be a product or a kind of betterment of the service in the end of the day, but for universities there need to be scientific publications and the texts and conference papers, etc. There is various ways and perhaps motivations through which universities and businesses interact with each other. I come from the business school, so my focus is the business side of things, not the scientific side of things. So what are the key motivation? What are the ways businesses and scientific institutions may pursue, and what are the concrete steps both sides may undertake to interact with each other and to make this interaction mutually beneficial? Because we all would agree that if there is no benefit for both sides, there is no reason to interact. So I'm not saying this is the complete list. This is just a few thoughts for the topic. And last but not least, some companies may even decide to build their own universities, such as Škoda Auto did, because they may realize that in the end of the day it is more convenient, cheaper and more efficient to prepare their own graduates and their own future talent. One of the challenges the Baltic countries face more than the Czech Republic, and certainly it's nothing thought that much or deeply about in Germany, is that we cannot do everything. And we cannot excel in everything. Yesterday we witnessed the inauguration of Jean Monnet Center of Excellence, which is interdisciplinary, and the question I wanted to ask to the panel was, where are the boundaries of interdisciplinarity? If there is no boundaries, there won't be excellence. Imagine your own situation. If you want to speak 20 foreign languages, perhaps you will not speak a single one to perfection. If you want a perfection, you need to specialize. Specializing means limiting yourself and setting clear boundaries. Latvia, Lithuania and Estonia cannot do everything. They cannot have excellent biomedicine research. They cannot have excellent SME development. They cannot have excellent physicists and other areas. And it's up to the politicians to decide what are the focal areas for future development. And this is something we have to take into mind when establishing those partnerships and promoting the excellence. So this kind of dichotomy goes against each other. We can't have the breadth or depth of cooperation if we do not limit the scope. What are some of the challenges? I don't need to tell you that one of the challenges is that is there anyone to conduct research or participate in the interactions between business and science? So how if there is not enough scientists? And one of the challenges is certainly the brain drain. Another challenge is that sometimes, especially for universities, the end means are the intellectual property development. So it finishes with filing a patent, or the corporation finishes with filing an industrial design. And then we have industrial designs such as this one, which we may laugh about, and they have hardly any practical use. So I'm sure that only males would realize what this is for. Females usually do not attend those spaces. What are other challenges or impediments to the interaction? It's conflict over goals, because we measure businesses and universities differently. Universities are measured by research output, businesses are measured by profit. Sometimes on both sides they work for projects, not for the benefits. So again, measuring the university based on number of contracts it's got with businesses and not on real material outcome or difference it makes to the society. So the form takes over the content. Immaturity, mistrust, short-term orientation, we may elaborate on that during our discussion. And then the famous perpetuum mobile, meaning that businesses think, oh, universities are paid primarily through public funds, so they should be working for us for free. And on the other side, universities thinking, oh, businesses are flooded with money and they don't know what to do with them, so they can pay us for every single head turn. Something I have heard repeatedly throughout the conference is the dichotomy between software and hardware. We have a lot of infrastructure and a lot of money is available for building infrastructure through European projects, but we don't think about the infrastructure or the content, the program those buildings and those capacities will have. So why should we building big research centers if there is brain drain and if there is no professionals in that particular research arena? What we are very good at, I mean especially on the other side of Atlantic, meaning in Europe, is that we think about distributing results prior to having them. So the key is how are we going to arrange ourselves and what is going to be the institutional setting. However, we do not know whether there is going to be any achievements and any goals, any ends met at the end of the project. And something Ari mentioned before, generally larger companies do much better in accessing public funds. I wish I could tell you how many millions of euros are used through the public money in Škoda Auto on the European level. I just can tell you that we have 3 special departments monitoring public funds and monitoring public grants and working systematically on accessing public funds. Ask many SMEs, they do not have anything like that. So I think I may stop right there with the challenges because those may trigger various points of discussion later on. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Pavel. Thank you, Ari. Now we got some ideas about the frame where we can start the discussion and zoom in a little bit deeper. What are the critical points, especially in the Baltic states? My proposal is that I give the floor first to our 2 friends from Estonia, and maybe then we come to the Latvian case. And then Gunnar and me, we are working, we have both, called both Gunnar, so we can agree who's talking about what. But you have the background in Sweden and in Latvia. I have the background in Germany and Estonia. And then maybe we can contribute a little bit both views. Okay, so maybe Merli starts a little bit to say something about the reality in Saaremaa. So it's not Tallinn, it's not an urban region, it's a rural area, and how the University Business Corporation works there.
Yes, thank you. So, yeah, when I was thinking about that topic, I understood that this Saaremaa case is maybe a very good case. So Saaremaa is an island, the biggest island in Estonia, but behind the sea, far away from Tallinn. And in this island there is a regional college of our university. It's a small part of our university. And in this island, this maritime sector and small craft building or boat building is a traditional economic sector, but it was forbidden during the Soviet time, and now during the 20 years it has been growing. And it is now a very important sector for the county. It gives like 20% of income. So, but they have had a lot of discussions in the county that they see that there is a limit for the growth, or there are some certain problems which they see and which are the restrictions for the growth. So first of all, they don't have enough specialist workers who are highly educated. They don't have so much know-how, and therefore they have done a lot of cooperation with the university. It is there have been wide discussion in the region. They have targeted the special areas what they could develop, and they came up with this maritime sector or small craft building sector. When I was looking at Ari's slides, I found some, some answers or some points also from my case, like whom to contact and how these initiatives came to the university. One very important point in this small rural area is that there is not too many people, and these people who are working in the university are also closely connected to this economic sector, or they are sometimes the builders, or sometimes they are using these boats and they are interested that there will be a better boats and something. So this is all very closely connected, and the network is very tight. So they speak with each other a lot. And by the university is interested about these things. First of all, also the aim of the college has been since the beginning to help the region, which is maybe more important for the local college than the big university in Tallinn. At least it is written more clearly. And also the survival of the county is important for the higher education institution as well, because colleges need people. If they want to train somebody, they need businesses who will employ later on the people. So they are both interested about finding some common interests, some curricula, some historical background. So it is very, very local-based idea, local-based knowledge, and now they try to engage it with other institutions, higher education institutions in Tallinn, like maritime sector. They try to do a lot of cooperation with the local union of entrepreneurs and also the association of small boat builders, and also do the international cooperation to develop this project. So I think this is a good example how the local needs and local university build something together.
Okay, thank you very much, Merli. That now we have a sharper picture of what's going on in an area which is a little more distant to Tallinn, where the main activities are concentrated in Estonia. Maybe Runo tells us now a little bit more what's going on in the Tallinn area.
Yes, thank you. Not maybe directly about the Tallinn, but I would like to tell about the topic what I am doing, and this is business training of engineers, and to explain a little bit bigger picture and how this particular part influences business university cooperation. First, we must make a small step back and look to the history, and in old times, and those times are maybe not so old, 20 years old only, the engineering career was, we can say, ticket to the upper middle class. You were educated somewhere in technical high school or technical university, later got a job place in a big company, and probably you were relatively well paid and you stayed there long. And you got nice salary and nice pension, etc. But nowadays reality is that industrial focus has shifted slightly out of Europe, and this has caused, let's say, certain turbulences in our region. We can even say that in some cases they are relatively hard, like in case of Saab or some companies. And those previous champions, which even 10-15 years ago looked like very prosperous, like Volvo, Nokia, Nordic, pulp companies, they are not more in any position due to the hard struggle to offer such a high benefits, etc. And it has also influenced, let's say, Estonian engineering and engineering in Baltic states, and suddenly people have realized that maybe the engineering career is not so sure ticket anymore. But from the other point of view, they have realized also that there is a need for technical specialists, but those specialists should have much wider curricula. They should be able to operate in certain cases in different positions in the company, either in product development, either in production process, in developing actively new business models. I just bring you some examples from IT industries, and we had a week ago discussion, and it was discussion about social factors and the engineering or purely technological factors, and I had one tough Finnish guy who said, so social factors doesn't matter at all. I make a good product and people who like this product will buy this product, and I will be profitable. But the opposite voice said that you cannot do anymore in such a way, because there are all kind of people who take care of the, let's say, protection of animals, protection of environment, and who build up those maybe internet, maybe physical communities, and they are not willing to buy your product what is made by child slave labor and anymore, whatever it, and whatever price and whatever nice quality it has, and we can even say that in some cases, if we take such a big champions of IT industry like Facebook and Google, in the beginning was built up social community, and later came the money, and this bridge was built up by venture capital. The same is visible in energy sector. Certain communities, in case of smaller scale energy issues, are more adaptive to the change of situation, and first to start technological change, probably there should be also, or together or a little bit before, should be social change and change in social mining. And my conclusion after this speech is that to keep in line with those technological and social changes, just university need to communicate, and this particular form, is it either directly to go to the companies or to do it via the students, it's already secondary, but it should be there, and that's life. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bruno. We heard some statements now, mainly from the university side. I have the pleasure that Elina is here. She's representing the public sector, and maybe we can discuss a little bit more now, or clarify the view from the public sector. What are the things going on here in Latvia, and what are developments or wishes that you had from the public sector in this area?
Thank you. Usually after the elections there is no representatives from government or parliament participating in any kind of conferences and meetings. Elections are over, they are in or out, and that's it. So in this case the state president's office has to intervene and represent the public sector in a way. But I think that a lot of interesting experiences we have heard here, and starting from let's say very ground level, what do we do and where are the problems. But looking at Latvia, I would say that my biggest question usually is, how much do we know about those two parents who want to make this baby innovation? And my deepest belief is that if we talk about innovation, then the best place where it can grow, it's university. So sorry to scientists, I would say that's university. And how much do we know about those parents, about business habits? How much do we know about their needs? How much do we know about availability of financial resources? That's a big question mark usually. And when I look back at the year 2006, when Employers' Confederation was looking for the barriers against the business and university cooperation, that was basically information exchange, which we were talking already in the beginning. At the same time, if we talk about universities, there are other questions, and I will probably address them a little bit later what regards to the structural reforms for future. But thinking from a business perspective still, it's very important to understand where do we are. And when we look at Latvia and evaluate its performance at the Global Competitiveness Index, we see that we are very weak in innovation. At the same time, we have quite good preconditions for that. And that's the availability of high school students. So that's one advantage which we basically don't use enough. And the second thing is efficiency of labor force. If we look at the Global Competitiveness Index, these are advantages which I see which we are basically not using enough. Afterwards, we have to look where do we want to go. So what kind of system do we want to develop? And then we have the EU 2020 targets, where we talk about investment in R&D, and where we talk about availability of high school students for businesses and for a community as such. And when I look at the Latvia's national targets in this respect, I see that we are having very, very low targets set up in front of us. And I believe that both for universities and for business community, that's quite discouraging. Because if we want to reach just the minimum, what we could reach, it really doesn't help to become a much more focus-oriented. And when we talk about business and university cooperation, I really believe that without serious structural reforms, we would not go further. What I see currently is that leaders or leading universities, leading businesses, they are not afraid from structural reforms. Usually the followers, they are quite afraid because they are used to financing which is not very transparent. They are used to having a lot of scientists sitting in the boards and councils without real performance and outcome. So what I see in Latvia's situation for businesses to understand where the excellence lies, where do we go, is first thing would be really consolidation of resources. And I wouldn't say that we have to be very specialized, as it was said by our Czech colleague. I would say even more that we have to be very selective. And to be selective, we need much better innovation strategy, which is really missing at the moment. So that's the way how we can bring resources together. That's the way how we can put targets for structural reforms and really concentrate people for making these reforms work.
Yes, thank you very much, Elina. Now I'm interested to hear from Marius about his ideas. What Elina started to discuss.
It was very interesting. I shall continue not what Elina said, but also what Pavel said, and try to join it together. Okay, I would like to discuss about three things. Scientific researches, projects, and real academic work, the studies in universities. Yes, about World Competitiveness Index. If we look at which place, for example, are Latvia in education, it's 35 or 36. But in innovations, it's approximately 90 or 100, somewhere there at the end. Why? It's a big difference. And I would like to continue what Pavel said, that all three Baltic countries are small countries, and there is no big companies. And yes, of course, it's very good to make some scientific research for budget, state budget from European Union money, but if we look to the big countries, a lot of scientific researchers are providing in big companies. In Latvia there is quite good example, as we like to say, it's a Grindex pharmaceutical company. There is a cluster of industry, scientific institutions, two or I don't know what, but one series. And yes, of course, it's possible to cooperate with Latvian University, with Faculty of Chemistry, Biology, and maybe others, and with Technical University. But if we compare this, our quite good company with good cluster, for example, with Bayern in Germany, it's practically more than 10 times smaller than this Bayern company. And it's very hard to provide some good scientific research. The good results in science, which is implemented also in some companies, it's some very small group about mathematical statistics in our faculty, where Boeing was interested in some results. That means that it's very problematic in scientific level to be good results. Yes, we have also innovation center in university. We try to accept crazy ideas and look how to develop. But the next level is a project. Yes, it's maybe not so scientific, but very interesting projects. For example, now we have a company, Latvijas Balsams. You know what is Balsams, I hope. It's alcoholic drink, very strong, and good medicine sometimes. And there is a problem about in marketing, and in Latvia it's no secret that there is a lot of non-legal alcohol in this, and it's necessary to make a wide research about environment only and about many problems, not only technological and other business problems, marketing and law and etc. And there is one example how we provide these contacts with companies. We try to involve, yes, of course, representatives from many companies as lecturers, and I think it's good that, for example, chairman of Department of Management is a half-time teacher here, and half-time he works in business in company and some consultings. And the third is study process. It's long life learning. For example, we try to use European funds, foundations to develop some projects and to make with companies. As I said, if Latvia there is no big companies, we try to cooperate with associations, some branches, associations and others. Our university and our university represents our faculty, is a member of Business Efficiency Association. It's quite new association, maybe Elena don't know about it. It's now, and we try to be involved in this common process with many business. Okay, and maybe at the end of some words of triple helix. That's nice that we don't use maybe this title, but that we discuss about the content, and it's very important. And sometimes double-double in NBA, triple-double in NBA also looks very good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Maris. Now I would take the chance to ask Gunnar as a business representative, because on your badge there's written that you are representing Chamber of Commerce, but you have also the background knowledge and the experience to compare the situation in Sweden and here in Latvia, because you are already a longer time active here. Maybe you can say some words about the topic.
Okay, it's not so easy when everything has been said and done, but we can always compare Sweden and Latvia, or Sweden and the 3 Baltic countries. And I'd like to do it with my school as an example, since Stockholm School of Economics in Riga was set up by the more than 100-year-old Stockholm School of Economics in Sweden in 1994. As a compensation for Sweden's behavior at the end of the war, when we handed over gold reserves and keys to embassies and things like that to the Soviet Union. And the idea was to create a school of excellence for business and economics. And the school covers the 3 countries. That was the mandate from the beginning. So we have taken students from Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania. Stockholm School of Economics in Sweden was founded in the beginning of last century by business people and banks and other associations. So that it stood out compared to the traditional universities which were built on the Humboldt idea. And SSE in Stockholm was directed only to produce usable graduates that could work in those companies and industries and banks that had founded it. It was still funded mainly by the government. It's privately owned, but government funded, and with contributions from business and with tuition fees. When we set up here, Sweden was still the last socialist country in Europe at that time, and we were not allowed to introduce tuition fees. That was a no-go. So we were funded by the Swedish government and the Latvian government. We never succeeded to talk to Estonia and Lithuania, unfortunately. But anyway, and it worked that way till finally the Swedish subsidies disappeared, and we could introduce tuition fees. And we were reformed into a foundation, which is Latvian, founded by SSE and by Latvia's University and by the Alumni Association, which is very important in this context, I think. And for us, it's important, and it's also natural to talk to the business community. In Sweden, they have been doing that all the time. And of course, we have the strength in those countries that Sweden is the biggest investor in Latvia and one of the biggest in Lithuania and Estonia. And therefore you have a lot of links commercially between the 4 countries, which is something we try to work on. And we have started by going to the big shots, which means the banks, that are Swedish controlled, and it means telecom, which is Sweden has a minority stake, and that has made it possible to build up a number of institutions within the school. One for entrepreneurship, which is funded by Telia Sonera, and one for sustainable business activity, which is funded by SEB, and one a media center, which is funded by a foundation in Sweden running a number of newspapers. It has been difficult to address the local community here, and I think that's because of lack of tradition to support science and education. Things are moving slowly, and as I said, we have succeeded with this big Swedish offshots. It's still an uphill struggle to reach the rest. We have the strength that our alumni have reached fairly high positions in business in Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania. When Ari asked which guys should one send out, for us it's obvious it's the alumni that have to start. And it has become possible for us to do that now because the alumni have started to support the school too. That was a long struggle for 10 years when it was said it's not a tradition here to support the alma mater, but that has changed. And we have now a number of scholarships granted by the Alumni Association, and therefore they could be the messengers that we could send out. So, of course, with the difficult economic situations we are living in, that is reflected here too. And hopefully things will be sorted out. I doubt very much that it will go fast, but still there is a new attitude which I find very good in the three countries. And we are also very happy that there is so much business between Estonia and Latvia, and that's a field where the two present governments want to develop even more and involve also education and science, and we hope that will continue. Well, I think I can stop there.
Yes, thank you very much. Now there are two possibilities. I think we should open now the floor for questions from the audience. If not, then we continue with the second round. Are there any questions until now, or ideas that we should discuss?
Thank you for your presentations. I was thinking one. I mean, it was Pavel Scratch who said something dealing with excellence, how to be excellence, and then you have to have some borders when you come to interdisciplinarity. And interdisciplinarity was mentioned yesterday here. Well, I mean, I admit that it's very, very challenging thing. I mean, if you really would like to implement interdisciplinarity. But I mean, what I have learned is that you have to be very good in your own field, discipline. Then you are able to implement interdisciplinarity. If you are not, then it's not going to function. So I would say that yes, you can have the both. Because you have to be excellent in your own field. And if your colleagues are the same in other fields, they are excellent, then you might have something and combine. And then build something which is new. And as I said yesterday, well, that is what we need. Thank you.
Just more remark. Okay, other questions? Yeah, one guy.
Pavel, my question is probably directed towards you. My question, though, in your pursuit of excellence, you emphasize specifically the importance of specialization, and of course just echoed here by the gentleman's previous comments. My question, though, stems from the fragmentation of knowledge that often takes place when you specialize. So when you have have this fragmentation of knowledge, how is it then that you can bring together various specialties that often talk past each other in the midst of trying to be interdisciplinary because they don't speak the same language and it's often so specialized? So that's my question for you, maybe for the board as well.
Well, as you know, the presentation said in the headlines that those were the challenges. So I'm happy that it sort of stimulated your minds, which was actually my goal. Thank you for that. Regarding the excellence specialization, well, our world is specialized, and we are becoming more specialized. And that's one of the things we simply have to accept. If we do not accept those, we cannot develop. Remember or look back 200 years and have a look at the key professions which were available at that time. You would see that maybe 2/3 of the professions are no longer present in our society, and that there is new professions emerging almost every day. And for the fragmentation of knowledge, we have since 1950s the Drucker's notion of the knowledge worker, and this is actually what we face. There is not too few information, there is always too much, and we have to find our way through it. So I'm just saying that specialization is something we have to accept. If we do not accept that specialization, that actually leads to fragmentation. That leads to the fragmentation of our efforts. That leads to learning, studying 20 languages at once, instead of focusing on one thing. If you do not focus, you cannot be excellent. If you cannot be excellent, you cannot spur innovation. And this is, in my view, one of the most difficult things small societies and small countries, including the Czech Republic, are going to face, because that makes us also extremely vulnerable. I work for a school which is associated with the automotive industry. Of course, we specialize, we are experts, we believe in what we do. On the other hand, the natural shadow side of things is, when the automotive industry goes down, we go down. That's a natural consequence. That's a causal linkage we simply have to accept. And what some, I would say, not so clever governments are doing, and now I'll be throwing balls into my own rows, is saying, okay, let's go away from the automotive industry. What does it mean? If we go away from the automotive industry, then perhaps we cannot be excellent in the automotive industry anymore, and we are even more vulnerable. So it's a vicious circle which goes downwards instead of introducing the vicious circle which would go upwards. For specialization, including other specializations which are interrelated and making the innovation spur. That would be my wish, and we simply have to accept the risks as well as the benefits of specialization, and in that sense, not the fragmentation, but the focus brings.
Thank you, and Elina, I want to add something.
Yes, thank you. That's why I was using term not specialization, but I was using word selective. Because the same issue which universities are facing, all the specialization problem, the same is with the businesses, and especially with such a small businesses as Maris was talking about SME country as Latvia is. And in this case I would say that the best choice probably would be to go for people. Because we have a lot of people who have studied in the universities, we have a lot of people who are still making a lot of in-house research and looking for those real bright people. So basically we will discover that we will need integrated approach for talent management. So there where we select the best students, and there where also we select the best companies which need support. And then the government response can be much more targeted, starting from tax relief and ending up with investment support.
Yeah, thanks. So just to comment, I think that the latest discussion on the focusing or specialization fits quite well to the late approach by the European Commission on the regional smart specialization. And then there we have to understand that it's not about the field-specific specialization or some discipline-specific specialization. We take a region, is it the Saaremaa or Tallinna, and the region or the city decides that, okay, we have these strengths and we focus on this issue. So it can be auto factories or something like that. And then the university, the businesses and the public authorities focus on the same issue. But they combine, for example, so then we don't fragment the discipline, but we focus different disciplines to the same topic. So for the car industry, so you need to understand what are the wishes of the clients. So we have social sciences that could research that part. Then we need engineers to produce the effective cars. And we need some art students to create nice cars. So it's not about fragmenting disciplines or knowledge or issues, but it's specializing at the regional level to some key businesses that in which the region is already good at. So that's the idea of the smart specialization concept by the European Commission, and I think that also the EU 2020 strategy points that. So there is this innovation union idea where the European Union really focus on some critical challenges and so on, and then we form the right groups for the different issues. But just comment.
Thank you. Now we are more or less in the last round. I want to come back a little bit, bring back the discussion a little bit more closer to the universities, if I'm allowed, because until now we discussed more on the political level. So when I remember right, both presentations, Ari's presentation and also Pavel's presentation, showed a couple of things. One thing, Ari mentioned very heavily the marketing field, so we don't have at the university side the appropriate marketing to offer our products. We don't have internal structures which are acceptable from the business side. This is one thing, and in your presentation it was also partly mentioned that the time horizons are different. So when you are coming from the business side, they want to make a deal, you have to deliver something in a certain time, in a certain quality. And the problem is, on the university side, we are not able to offer products like this or to generate offers like this, which are interesting for a lot of companies. One thing. The second thing is, crucial thing, in Germany the university system is comparable to Sweden. We are not allowed to charge tuition fees. So this means the incentive question is a real question, because I get my check every month from the ministry, and if I do something for the region or for the company or not, nobody cares. It's a little bit different in Finland. It's comparable. Here in the Baltic states, I think you have a mixed system. You also have influence. You have to pay. And the third thing is, I think it's a strategic question, maybe something rather for Elina's level again. When you have a Western system, for example, where the government pays for the whole university system, and you know that most of the clients in our regions are SMEs, then the question appears, can they pay for things they are ordering from us? Usually not. But then the question is, when the government pays already for the public universities, why to accept subvention system for the business from the university side? So what is the political answer to the question why we should deliver something that's paid by ordinary taxpayers to the business side? So if we offer something for free for the business side from the university part, then also how to say, NGOs or other institutions can ask something from us. It's clear, the message? Maybe you are close on different levels. So you are on the European level, and you have a comparable system like in Sweden and Germany. You can answer something to this?
Small questions you have. Just to comment again on the latest issue, I underline that universities can't react to all company cases by free of charge, because then we influence to the market system, market economy. Almost each fields have own private actors, and then if we do something as a university with the money of the taxpayers, that is wrong. So when there is a real case from the company and it needs some really specific information on or solutions, it has to pay. Otherwise, it won't work. So this was just the latest comment for this. But of course, if we use students, then we can teach students better with the company cases. Then it's a different issue.
Yeah, if I understood correctly, I didn't hear quite well the questions, but one was how to motivate professors to enter into business contacts, and I don't know how to do it. I just wanted to give an example from Sweden, which I find quite interesting. In 1963, the great old man of Swedish banking and industry, Marcus Wallenberg, founded a company called Incentive. And the purpose of that one was to acquire a number of going concerns that earned money, and then to find golden eggs at the universities, new innovations and things that could be commercialized. And for that purpose, he set up a scientific council that met once a month, and I remember it very clearly because they always met in the room where I and my colleagues were working. So one Friday every month we had to empty our room. And there, those 9 wise men from universities were supposed to give ideas for the company to invest in new products. And it worked with 3 cases, I think, but then it dried up because I thought the motivation was the nice dinners that were served in my workroom, but apparently that was not enough.
Yes, actually, Mr. Browser, please listen. Actually, in the winter we had the same discussion about the business and university relationship, and one thing I don't remember so well this previous discussion, but at least in certain part of this discussion, gentleman from UK, Jay Mitra, stood up and said that you are totally messed. You are forgetting your main role, and main role of academia is educating of people. Okay, you can do business and you can do consulting and you can do, let's say, paid research, but still think what is your main business, and main message is to deliver this teaching and giving attitudes and that thing, and I absolutely agree in this sense that when you start to weaken your main product at the expense of the, let's say, additional products, at the end you end up with a product portfolio which is full of weak products. At least try to have one strong product what is selling, and you can declare that I'm doing this well. And that was the message of the Mr. Mitra Professor Mitra from United Kingdom.
Okay, first I voice a disagreement with Runo, and then I tell you a joke. The disagreement with Runo is that I believe that perhaps it is a question of the nature of academic job, and I believe that we should be standing on 3 equally strong legs, if possible. The first leg is teaching and education, the second leg is research, and I believe what we are missing in our geographical spheres is the third leg, and that's the community service. And here I don't mean just the local community, I mean also the community on the national level. So I believe these should be 3 equally strong legs. And then the joke, which relates to what was just said about the motivation for public school professors to enter into business partnerships and business interactions. I heard a joke from a colleague of mine who comes from a country which I will not name, but I don't know what the situation is in Latvia. And he said, well, you know, why would I do it? They pretend they pay me, and I pretend I work for that money.
Yes, it's a very interesting question. And I think, for example, for our faculty, it's very important that our teachers are more deep in business and they know better this business, and that means that they must provide some research or projects or work somewhere. And there is quite a lot of maybe organizational problems. For example, as I said, some professors are half-time professors in our faculty and half-time somewhere. And somewhere, if we have a very serious position in this company, it's sometimes very hard. Must go to Estonia to do something, to consult. In university, it's easy to plan the work. Okay, lectures in this day, and consultations in this, and etc. In business, sometimes it's not so easy to do. There is another problem, 40 hours per week to work in projects, in lectures, and etc. It's easy to do. For example, then, the lecture in our university, project in Stockholm School of Economics, and there is no problems with 40 hours. Because the research work has some creative things must be. And etc. But we motivate our teachers when they are re-elected. We look, are they doing some projects or not?
Okay, Ari, don't give up. Say something.
No, just wanted to agree with Bruno. So it's although I'm really eager promoter of university business cooperation, we still, and we always discuss about this with the professor when I try to motivate them to cooperate, and then I get some answers. But we really have to remember that why the universities are for, and I think this basic scientific research, academic research, how you name it, it is the core function for the universities, and it's also benefit for the companies, because otherwise universities don't find those surprising innovations that are coming only through the basic scientific research. So if we only react to the business demands and jump to each train, I would say that stop the universities. So in that, but of course it's the question of level, and I don't say that we shouldn't work in the university for this. I would say that we need some kind of extra layer on top of the basic research. So we have the professors who focus really on the basic research, and we have to find enough resources for them, but then we need the next layer who are more like a broker for between the academic heartland and the business and the society. So that's some kind of process we need. But yeah, that was just that we remember why the universities are for. And in Finland we have the other, so we have these universities of applied sciences, and in Finland they are those who should work more directly with the business. So we should keep our profiles clear.
Thank you. Okay.
No, he was very provocative because you told about this public money, and if we are subsidizing in a way the business. I wouldn't agree, because I believe that we are going back to the golden triangle: who is paying public money? And these are companies, these are employees, and that's where we are. That's how we finance all the social goods which we are enjoying. But at the end, I would just like to say that we are living in a very, very fragile time. We see that Europe probably wouldn't be the fastest growing economy as we were hoping for. But still, we see that we are living in a very, very innovative region as such, taking into account especially the Nordic countries. And at the same time, we also see that institutional investors still look at Baltic countries and, as emerging market. So that's a very positive sign. And that can be one of the answers where we can look for future financing, because understanding the limited resources of the governments which will be visible for next budgets, taking into account also the financial markets. I believe that we have to, in each sector, strengthen our advantages. So there are a lot of things which we heard basically which should be done in universities to improve the marketing, to improve the communication with businesses, and same thing is with a business. But looking at the businesses, at the companies, I see that if they are having idea, they will pay the money, they will find the best research anywhere in the world. So question mark is, are our universities, are our regions the best where to find the knowledge?
Yeah, thank you very much. It was a great final word. Are there any questions to the panel here still? Otherwise, I thank everybody for being in the panel, for the nice discussion, and we can continue at the lunch. Thank you very much.
So the conference. Yeah. Now comes the second part of this panel. We have to say, first of all, thank you very much to all the participants of the roundtable discussion. It was fantastic, extremely interesting, and thank you for sharing with us your experience, thoughts, concerns. There is quite a lot to think about.